Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My wonderful guest today is Sandra Wasko-Flood, and we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is quite extraordinary and really quite intoxicating in many ways, and that is the Labyrinth Path to Light and Peace. She has written a book on the Labyrinth Path to Light and Peace, Art and Poetry by Sandra Wasko-Flood. And if you don't know what a labyrinth is, it is something that goes round in a circle, round and around like an onion. If you cut an onion in half, you'll see all those beautiful circles, and you walk them, kind of in a meditative state, and you surrender to the walking of that path. And we're going to be talking about that today. And she actually did something quite extraordinary. She's the woman who made people walk in a labyrinth on the eastern lawn of the US Capitol. She is an artist, a poet, and a teacher, and she's a founder of the spirit behind the non-profit organization Living Labyrinths for Peace. And her book, Labyrinth Path and Light and Peace, gives a view into her visions of peace and health through labyrinth walking. In the great kiva of Chakra Cultural Park, New Mexico, Sandra had a vision, ceremonial dances from all races, cultures, and beliefs peacefully ascending on the underground spiral to do a labyrinth dance. She became the founding member of the International Labyrinth Society. She went on to create inactive labyrinth art and technology installation, Dance of the Labyrinth, symbolizing the peace dance of opposites of our times. The first project was Walking the Labyrinth of the Inner Peace ceremony on the U.S. Capitol Eastern Lawn. The Washington Performing Arts Center asked her to give a Labyrinths for Creativity and Peace workshop in the schools, and she gave these workshops in the local DC schools and changed the school system in relating to labyrinth and every other subject. She means that walking that labyrinth can help with diagnoses such as autism, dyslexia, Parkinson's. Psychologically, they can help elevate anxiety, post-traumatic stress syndrome. And since 2005, Living Labyrinths for Peace has installed labyrinths in over 40 schools in the DC area and many in New Mexico. That is really quite wonderful. I mean, to have something like that accepted in schools, on to be on the lawn of the Capitol. That means people are opening up that there is an alternative way to calming our hearts and our souls and our spirits other than drugs. Welcome to the show, Sandra.
Thank you so much.
So, really quite an achievement to get that amount of attention and to have that amount of people really look at the benefits of it. It must have been a lot of due diligence and a lot of work through the years.
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't give up.
That's a good thing. That's
Yeah,
a
I
good
don't
thing.
give up. Yeah. And uh I what happened was I had this vision in the Great Kiva, Chaco National
Mhm.
Historical Park, New Mexico. That is one of the most sacred places I've ever been in. And in 1998, I believe we able to, they didn't close it down to tourists. So you could go in there and sit there. And I had a vision of an underground spiral, a ceremonial dancer ascending the spiral, doing a ceremonial dance in the kiva, and ascending another one under a space dome to the skies.
Mm.
Well, right afterwards, a tour guide came by and said that was all there. And so
Ah.
I've been led by great spirit or whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very next day, I went straight to a book in a bookstore in Santa Fe. And that usually doesn't happen. I'm just meandering around looking at all the books. It was on the lower shelf and it said Labyrinths, Ancient Myths and Modern Uses by Sig Logren. And that's the first time I heard about a labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it from cover to cover. And then I really believed that a labyrinth belonged in that kiva and that they were doing the same sort of things that labyrinth do. Um, and the labyrinth is an ancient design. It's found all over the world and it's over 4,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a single path that you go forwards and backwards to the center of transformation. And then you bring your insights or transformation back out into the world. And no one knows where it comes from, but it is the path of Mercury in the sky.
Ah, aha.
And it's found in caves and everything all over the world. And so I went back to my Washington, D.C. studio at the time. I've lived all over the place. And I just received that I'm supposed to make peace between art, science, technology, and nature. And I created Dance of the Labyrinth with computer program light boxes that light up to your steps.
Ah.
And yeah, they had images in them. And the first path was the earth path, which is the physical answers to your questions. How am I feeling? I'm in the hospital or going to the hospital or something. And then the physical path. And the next path was your emotional path, you know, is how am I happy, sad, angry, afraid, or what? You want to address that. And the third path was the mental path or the path of the mind. What was your mind telling you? Was it overactive,
Mm.
And then
Very
the
easy to
next
be.
path was the spirit path. And so what is your spirit telling you and everything? And so then you walked back and forth, back and forth. The labyrinth is one path. It's like life. You go forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. But if you concentrate on your goal, you get there. And sometimes the backwards things are okay to leave. You don't need to do those.
Yeah.
Just a minute, I gotta turn off my cell phone. Um, and so then you go to merging elements path where all these parts of yourself merge together. And then you stand on the center mirror of transformation and you connect to earth and universe. I mean, you can look down and you can go through the earth and feel that energy. And then you can go up to the stars and feel that energy. And then you walk for any possible reason or question. Or sometimes you just see what happens, and what you feel. A lot of people don't have a specific, church or higher power or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, but you just see what the spirit tells you. And then you bring, as I say, your piece of peace back out into the world, and you can transform people that way. And so I've done these workshops in the schools for many years too. Um, uh, I majored in English and I was taught uh, a middle school, and I found out that the school system was not very good, and I wanted to change it.
Mm. Good for
Especially
you.
middle school. They weren't. They would. They didn't obey you or anything,
No,
very much.
raging hormones turning.
I
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
They thought they really think they know it all.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Little do
Yeah.
they know.
And anyhow, so then so I was at UCLA and I was majoring in English, and I'm glad I did that. That was very good. But I was an artist, and I took a class in art, and it was portrait drawing. And the teacher said I should become a full-time artist. And so then, wherever we lived, wherever we went, I didn't go to art school. I wasn't going to do that. I would pick out the best art teachers to study with. And then, when my husband got a job with the National Academy of Sciences in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, I found the best artist to study with, art teacher, Maria Gusta Kaufman, and she was from the Rhode Island School of Design. And she essentially gave me my undergraduate art. And I found out that I love to do printmaking the best. And so wherever we lived, I would take printmaking. And I managed to find people that were doing new, safe methods of printmaking because what you used in the past was nitric acid and
Mm.
all this stuff that wasn't good for
No.
you. Yeah. And so I found those people that were changing that system, Keith Howard and different people. And and so I've been studying that all the time now and doing um, a lot of series of things. And presently, we're living in Angel Fire, New Mexico, and I go to the University of Taos. And there, I found a great printmaking teacher, Gary Cook, and so he's giving me instructions in advanced forms of print. And so my latest series, and I think it's going to be my last one, I don't know, because I'm 81 years old, but I'm still healthy and my
Uh,
memory's going. My
yeah,
memory's
yeah.
going.
The more active you are, the more you can keep going,
Yeah.
right?
And my latest series is Peacock envisions the creation of the universe through its eyes.
Mm,
And so I have big pictures of the prints of the peacock, and then its eye is open. And I put through it like life cycles, death cycles, spirit cycle.
mm,
I have mummies that I took pictures of in Guanajuato, Mexico, that were dug up because they couldn't avoid burial fees and they were put in a glass case,
wow.
and stuff like this. And anyway, so this has been uh, this has been quite an adventure, and I want to give my uh, gifts of art and poetry. I write poems and piecework and labyrinth piecework to the world. And luckily, when I was in the D.C. area, the Washington Performing Arts Center out of the Kennedy Center asked me to give workshop. And it was not like doing a workshop in a school. They related the workshop to all of Howard Gardner's 9 intelligences,
Mm,
things that aren't covered in the schools,
mm-hmm.
like art, music,
Yeah,
dance, all that stuff. Of course, geometry, you have to cover all that. Labyrinth relates to everything.
right, exactly.
Yeah. And so it was good, to do geometry, everything,
Mm-hmm.
and science and everything. And so I learned to give these workshops, and they could be a short workshop of a couple hours, or they could be a 1 or 2 day workshop. And the students would make canvas hands of peace labyrinth. They'd always do that. And they'd use this paint to do it and wear gloves and everything and paint. And the different colors as you go through the labyrinth, different colors of the rainbow. And they often made an outdoor one. And that's if it was a more than a 1 day workshop, we could do, a couple day workshop, and they can do a nice one outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
on the grass. Uh, and so that has really changed the school system and helped people. And there's been great testimonies for from students and everyone, that walks them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the students says, "I was so sad. Now I'm happy." And
Well, that's the main goal, isn't it? And
yeah.
we're in a world right now of extreme high anxiety, and we're seeing more and more, post-traumatic stress trauma. We're seeing more autism, Down syndrome. We're seeing just so much more of other today. And
Mhm,
this thing of normal, what is that? Everybody is carrying some sort of burden or anxiety, fear. And I think that, we need these techniques that allow us to go through the process of awareness, what is causing this, being
mhm,
aware, being connected, and also knowing how to release and embrace what you can put in its place, which can
mhm,
fortify you and feed you and fuel you in moving forward. And,
mhm,
simple thing of going through this process. Interviewed other people on labyrinths before, but they haven't done it in the sections like you have. It has been more meditative as you've walked. You're becoming more at one with yourself and your steps and tuning in. But I love
mhm.
the idea of the way that you've done it of, facing the earthly and facing the spirit, facing everything else at different stages as you
Yes.
walk, and making it's something that you're aware of what I can release and what
Mhm,
I can embrace forward. So it's really important. I think more and more today we are needing these techniques that can help us kind of find our equilibrium within ourselves. And the fact that you relate it to science. But I also love the way, science and spirituality. I've always been a very spiritual person. I was born that way. This is what I was here to do. But I love the fact that science is beginning to understand what spirituality is and measuring the energy, measuring the frequency, measuring how the chemistry of them changes the higher they go in the frequency of spirituality, because the calmer they become, more peaceful, more wise, more knowing, and kinder and more loving. And they can measure that, these days with science to actually measure the hertz, the frequency of it, and understand that when people raised up to that level,
Hmm.
that there is more peace. Peace isn't like hurry up, peace, come and get me. And it isn't about the war is over, now we have peace. No, peace has to come from within. We are the peace we seek. We
Yes.
are the love we seek. And if we want to
Hmm.
see more peace in the world, we must become more peaceful, right?
Definitely. And I just wanted to say that the labyrinth for peace has caused a lot of miracles. And when we put labyrinths on Capitol Hill, there was an autistic child that walked the labyrinth that I had. I believe, yeah, it was a surveyor flag labyrinth that we put on, temporarily on the lawn there. And he walked in, very slowly, and he couldn't speak. And when he came out, he was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think a labyrinth can do. It can
Yeah.
heal oneself.
And
It can
people
heal
will
all
go,
kinds
but
of things.
it's you kind of you're going in a circle. How does that work? And I think so much of this is we have too much chatter, too much pulling at us, and kind of going into something where it is deliberate,
Hmm.
deliberately walking forward around and around in this circle.
Yeah. And it's going forward and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And they think maybe the first labyrinth was a dance. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to follow the steps, they went forward and backwards and forward and backwards.
Right.
And so the Labyrinth Society, which I'm, founding member of, they did that one time. They did a dance in the labyrinth where they went
Mm-hmm.
forward and backwards. Yeah.
I can see how that can be, and Um, I've interviewed people with autism and parents of autism, and I call them just differently abled. They are firing on different cylinders, but who's to say that they are worse or not? Yes, you do have, the nonverbal. You do have people that have other issues along with it, but most
Hmm.
of the time, if we look at autistic people, many of the time they're quite focused on what they love to do, their passion.
Oh, yeah.
They're incredibly good at it. They're very selective of who's around them and their friends, right? And they're very choosy of their atmosphere of where they go. The
Right.
natural fact, we need to be learning from them,
Yes.
and not, it's not about how many people are in our lives or how busy it is or how many likes. It's selectiveness. You want to be with
Yes.
the right vibe tribe that
Right.
supports your spirit.
And I have a theory that, I was also in some schools and some people weren't talking, they were autistic. Part of my theory is that they're done talking because they're not interested,
Right.
you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And
Or
then when you
not
say
being given
something,
permission.
or yeah, not
Yeah.
yeah. And then yeah, right. People could be telling them all the time, be quiet, shut up,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I've noticed that in the schools that, an autistic person start talking again as well, and just
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. I have a grandson with Down syndrome, so he's very he's only 16 months, but he's already showing his verbility and what he
Hmm.
likes and what he doesn't. But the beautiful thing about what he is that if he's not happy, he shows us in the moment, and then it's over.
Hmm.
And we are inclined to harvest pain, harvest fear, harvest regret, or harvest grudges.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's what really bogs us down,
Oh, yes.
and that weight of it, and we don't realize how much we're carrying So when we're
I
making
know.
the steps of seeing it for what it is,
Yeah.
that then, when I say when you're aware, you care, you can do something about it.
Right. Right. Well, a lot of people, I think labyrinths help people love and forgive each other,
Hmm.
and we can't take everything personally,
Yeah.
And if somebody disagrees with you, I think a good thing is to invite them to the table
Mm.
and have a good meal together
Yeah.
and just sort of try to open up your heart and learn what's going on and everything. And but you can't take anything personally, and you can't start screaming at them or get mad or anything like that.
And if it is something that you do take personally because you feel it offended you, then
Mm-hmm.
we need to know that it's okay for us to address that.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Where
Right.
where have we lost the courage to say, I'm sorry, what you just said is upsetting, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that tone, or could you rephrase? Because we have ownership over ourselves, and if we feel that something has been said that, and they may be unaware that what they're saying is offending, and by
Mm-hmm.
pointing it out without anger, without
Right.
mudslinging,
Right.
but that I found offensive. Would you like to rephrase that? Gives them a chance to be aware, maybe their tone, maybe their words, and that to take ownership of it and change it around.
Yeah. Yeah. We so need to do that. We have to let go of any kind of hatred or anything like that, and just, but we don't have to continue to, relate to a person if
Yes.
they're constantly screaming at us. We just let go and just say, I'm sorry, I wish you the best, and just leave or something,
And walk on.
and walk on.
Yeah. Continue in that circle. you know.
Right,
Yeah, there's another
right.
chapter ahead of you. Don't get stuck in this
No,
chapter,
no,
right?
no,
I
no.
mean, life is about process, isn't it?
Oh,
It
yes.
it is about going through things, and I love it when people, I call it the cosmic two by four. The cosmic comes along and goes nudge nudge, wink wink. You're meant to be going this way, and when we pay attention, we
Right.
step into some wondrous things. When we don't
Yeah.
pay attention, that's when we get the wackaroo, right? And we're
Right.
forced to redirect. And
Yeah.
something like a labyrinth like this, we're going through these various stages. You
Right.
are you are being cognitive of your choice,
Right.
of being aware. Most people are not present. They're thinking in the past or the future. They're
Right.
not thinking in the present. And this
Right.
forces you to be present.
Right. And also another thing is we often tend to misunderstand each other,
Hmm.
and take things too personally. And I think it's good to try to find out what the person is really saying,
Yes.
if they're open to doing that, and if they're not so, and what they really mean, and try not to take something so personally, and just
Well, very often it's them imposing their own angst,
Mhm.
their own fear, their own insecurity, their own anger, and they
Right.
want to impose it on someone else to help release themselves from it. And you
Hmm.
don't get released that way. All you're doing is
Hmm.
making other people around you feel
Hmm.
shitty,
Hmm.
right? So we have to own where we're at. And if I'm angry, if I'm hateful, if I'm afraid, what am I going to do about it?
Right. Right. And when I did programs in the schools, I had students walk out. Usually they walk the canvas labyrinth that they made, and they would, one group would walk. You can't have, 20, 30 people walking a
Right.
labyrinth at a time. And the other group, it's about 5 or 6 walked at once. And the other group sat around the outside. And so they went to the center of the labyrinth and they would make a peace wish. And then the group sitting around the outside would help them with their peace wish.
Mm.
And one time, a student went to the center and it was in tears, says, "My dog just died."
Oh. Hmm.
I know. And then
Hmm.
a student on the outside said, "Mine did too. And this is what I did." And it helped the student, accept the fact.
Compassion,
I know,
empathy,
I know. And
caring. I mean,
I know
it's,
it's caring, and it's
yeah.
okay to cry,
Yes,
of
yes.
course.
And it's okay to step up and support someone. We seem to have forgotten that. We've
Yeah.
forgotten that compassion of a simple hug. Oh, I am so sorry. Can I give you a hug? Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, right.
This is how I got through it. If any way I can
Yeah.
help you get through it. That's what we're meant to do with each other.
I
Be there for
know.
each other.
I know. And oftentimes, when we get to the center of the labyrinth, if there's a couple people in there, they often hug each other,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also when we get out of the labyrinth too, you
Yeah.
can hug people, and that's really good,
It's not just the exterior connection, it's the connection inside
Right.
that then wants to connect with people on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all about inside, isn't it? I mean, everybody's chasing everything on the outside. I want to be popular, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I
Oh,
want to be
I
this,
know. I
right?
know.
And but
Yeah.
all that you want comes from the inside.
Yeah. And I
Everything.
think we have to get through so many fears.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've worked on those,
Hmm.
I used to have a fear of public speaking, but I don't anymore,
Right.
and things like this. Yeah.
Well, most of the fears that people go through, will other people like me? Will other people
Yeah.
approve of me? Self-esteem is kind of the lack of self-esteem is
Right,
at a
right.
peak
It's
at the present moment.
self-esteem.
And that is, then you become people pleasing, and you become you lose yourself in trying to be what everybody else wants you to be, instead
Right,
of enhancing and enriching who you really are.
right,
And if we
right. And I
concentrated on
think,
that.
yeah, and you try to please the other person, and I've met several people that don't understand what a labyrinth is.
Hmm.
And some of them, when I start explaining it, they're interested, others aren't. So I just
Yeah.
let go,
Yes. Oh,
you
they're
know?
either ready or not. You've planted the
Yeah,
seed will take or not.
right.
But I think it's like, as with anything in life, when you're ready, the teacher appears. But sometimes people don't recognize them as a teacher.
Yeah, I
But
know.
it's funny things then start to happen around their life afterwards that keeps bringing up the labyrinth again, right? And it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
suddenly it's
yeah.
knocking at their heads and going, well, maybe there's something here. So, but there is this, and it's a huge thing for me, free will. If you're not doing it out of free will, then you are not doing it authentically or truthfully. And so
Mm-hmm.
we can't help people. I call it the sunny side of the street. I'm on the
Mm-hmm.
sunny side of the street and I want to share. There's the street in the middle, which is your crossover, and there's the dark side of the street. I can't go into the darkness and try and pull you out. You've got at least get on the road. And when you're
Yes,
on
that's
the road,
true.
I can now help you and give you the
Yes.
skills and the tools I've learned to for you
Mm-hmm.
to find your sunny side of the street. But we have to be willing to step out of that darkness. That's part of our human journey,
Right,
right?
right. Yes, it certainly is. Yes. And I know relationships are can be very difficult, and especially family ones, because you have
Mm.
to live with them for every day, day and night. And so in a sense, I used to be sad that I had endometriosis and I couldn't have children,
Ah,
but that would have been hard. And I couldn't have done these different workshops if I had to be with
exactly.
my kids all day.
Yeah. Well, there's
And
always a reason, right?
yeah, there's always a reason. And my sister and I had different experiences growing up. And I was born in Flushing, Long Island, New York City, and I was 3 years old, and my sister was 3 months. And my dad, who was weather forecasting for Pan Am, he came home and he said, "I have a job weather forecasting in South Africa or Lisbon, Portugal." And so Mom said, "Look at two babies." She said, "We go to Lisbon." And so from age 3 to age 6, I lived in Lisbon, and I love the culture. And the people were very warm, and they were interested very much in art and not so
Hmm.
much in science.
Right.
Yeah, and then, but my mother didn't treat my sister very well. I think my mother was a real extrovert. She was entertaining ambassadors, and I think she was very busy. And my sister was just so young, and she was in a high chair, and she put her with the maid in the kitchen and wouldn't let her eat at the table with us.
Oh,
Yeah, isn't that awful? And
yeah.
then she told me, I was like 3, 4 years old, Sandra, take care of your sister. And so
Mm-hmm.
my mother and my sister did not have a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, my sister realized this, and she said, and we came together, and she says, you were my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so our relationship has really improved,
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
because of that. But that can happen, it just,
Yes.
you
Oh,
know.
and also, our generation. I'm turning 70, so kind of you're a little ahead of me, but my sister is 83 and my brother is 75. And my sister, 13 years older than me, well, they went to boarding school. This is in England. So they went to
Hmm.
boarding school at the age of 6,
Oh,
right?
wow.
I only went just before my ninth birthday because I was a sickly child. So they had to wait. And then I was sent off to boarding school. But that was the way. And it's like when I had my kid, no way they're going anywhere to boarding school. I'm going to be immersed in their life. I may have gray hairs with their name on it, but I was with them all the way through the journey. And parenting, my mother just said to me, you're bringing your children up the way you wanted to be brought up. And I think absolutely hands on, really.
Hmm.
And like this weekend is my birthday. My son's turning 40 this in October as well, and we're having a whole family birthday thing. But
Hmm.
you have to work at it as a parent. Don't have kids. If you're not willing to be a participant in their lives
Right,
forever, forever.
right,
Now, I
right.
know that your mother's generation and even my generation, it was expected. You
Oh,
go and
yeah,
have children, that was it. You had them willy-nilly, whether you wanted them or not. If you
right,
didn't want them, what kind of person were you? Um,
right.
my oldest daughter, who's turning 42, doesn't want children. She loves being auntie, right? She's got things to do in life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's what we need to look at is, can we be the parent that we really would love to be? And if our interests or if our lifestyle does not, opposed to be that nurturing parent, don't have kids, right?
yeah,
So,
right, definitely. And the same thing with whoever you're living with,
yeah, yeah,
that doesn't work out, you have to examine it. Is this my fault that it's not working out? Should we really
yeah,
be together and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff? But if it doesn't, you just have to leave. And a lot of people get divorced,
yeah.
but you
Well,
don't have to be you don't have to be violent about it or
no,
anything.
no, exactly. And, that was something that I, planted the seed and let it grow and then waited for the right time, for
Mm-hmm.
that divorce to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing with it. When you're aware and you begin to care, you start seeing things differently. And there is always a different approach. But we are brought up to think linear,
Right,
right? Everything a straight line. Well,
right.
our blood, our oxygen, our energy in our body is constantly in flow and in movement. It is not linear. It may go through our body, but it doesn't go through our body in a straight line. And so
No,
this is the thing that I think very often is a detriment to us as human beings, is because we are too much walking in a straight line and not being with the rhythm and the flow and the movement of life, and having a labyrinth that you have to walk around in a
I
circle
know the
paying
labyrinth is
attention.
like that. It's
Yes,
very much like the way
yeah,
life is and should be. Yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, because you're changing that linear into that circular movement, which is now making you be more conscious of that
right.
flow. And I think that's definitely another benefit of it. But
Mm-hmm.
you're also so focused on where you're going
Mm-hmm.
instead of, again, the outside. You're
Yeah,
present. You're focused on what phase you're in on the labyrinth,
right,
what you're meant to be absorbing in this time. It helps you focus in and pay
right,
attention.
right, right. Yeah,
So you also do poetry. Did that come
right.
about because of the art or because of the labyrinth?
Um, no, the poetry came very many years ago. Um, uh, when I was about in, I think it was about second, third grade, we were living in Berkshire, Maryland, and my dad wanted to go to the University of Chicago to get his doctorate degree. And so we moved to the south side of Chicago. And I went to St. Cyril's school there, and I was in fourth grade, and they gave us lessons in art and in poetry.
Mm.
And I wrote my first poem because I had just read Heidi, and I didn't like moving from the country to the city.
Yes.
And I wrote, I'm a little fir tree standing in the hall. I feel very funny standing up here so tall. Children will come and trim me with all different colored balls. I don't like that at all. I'd rather be back in the forest, you see, with all the other trees. And in the wintertime, especially. Oh, I wish I wasn't me.
I'm beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And the fact that you still remember that absolutely. But
Yeah, I know.
but it really does talk about displacement, right? And you know how you
Right,
have to adjust. And then sometimes we look at something like, I really would like to be back in that forest. But don't look at it as the be all and the end all. It's temporary where you are. What
right.
experience are you meant to have as that fir tree in the city that
Yeah,
you can then take back to the forest when the time is right?
right. Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Of course, as a child, it's the end of the world,
Yeah.
right? You talked about South Africa. My mother moved me to South Africa when I was 14, and
Wow.
from England to there, and from a very secluded, sickly, insular child to suddenly this vast, open, interactive world. A very beautiful country,
Mm-hmm.
and but a totally different life.
Mm-hmm.
And but she came to life there, and I faked a persona until I found my persona
Mm-hmm.
there, because I didn't know who I was in this new country. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
how do we accept change? And change is forever happening, but so many people are so afraid of change. And I think, where is the wonderment? If we have wonderment, then we're excited about what's around the corner. If we don't have that wonderment and we have fear instead, then we're always trepidatious of what's around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we need that labyrinth in order to have us focus in and be prepared. And have you had people walk it several times and then share the different experiences they've had with each walk?
Yeah. I usually just have them walk it. Yeah, in the schools, sometimes I do that, you know.
Mhm,
I have them walk it more than one time, you know. They do their canvas labyrinth on the inside, you know, and if they make one outside, you know, they could do that and they share their experiences. Yeah.
mhm. Because I
And
imagine the first time it's kind of opening up to things they never thought of. The
right.
second time they're aware of what's coming, and
Mm-hmm.
then maybe more things come into focus
Mm-hmm.
that they need to know. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
the one thing about the universe, it will always take us down a path of what we need to know when we need to know it.
Yes, yes, that's yes. And yeah, so I'm just so grateful for having discovered the labyrinth, you know, and
Mm,
being able to share that experience with lots of people, you know,
yes,
and
exactly.
change my problems too, you know, everything.
Yeah. Like, what was kind of one of the major problems that it helped you with?
Mm-hmm. Okay, just find
So,
it.
going to look up here another poem. You know, the thing about poetry, it's rhythmic, right? It is a rhyme. That's the beautiful thing about it. But when we
Mm-hmm.
write poetry that represents our heart, soul, and spirit, you know, then it
Mm-hmm.
is something that speaks more than just words. So, have you got another one there for us?
Yes, I do. This is about a near-death experience.
Mm,
As I walked down the windy, rocky road to Grand Canyon National Park in New Mexico and looked at the views of the red rocks and the flowing streams below, as I turned my ankle, I felt a stabbing pain coursing through my body. Now I fell on the ground and began weeping, with the pain increasing. As it was, I thought I would die at any minute. As my husband comforted me with his loving hands, I settled down more comfortably on the ground and found a horse that would carry me on that trail, down and around and down, to that solid and flat desert ground below. The next day, when I woke up, I was thoroughly astonished to find I was still alive. Um, and that's that one. And then I had a near death transformational experiences. Dear one, can you tell me the difference between a near death experience and a transformational experience? Is a near death experience always physical and a transformational experience always spiritual? My friend, a near death experience is more often the dying of your body through a physical disease or pain, or perhaps an accident that shuts down your heart. A transformational experience is always spiritual, but it can come from the physical. You may fall in love with nature's beauty on a walk in the mountains or the forests as the flowers spread forth their magnificent petals, as the sun rises and sets with the fiery wonder of its magnificent colors. And or perhaps your higher spirit speaks to you through that deeply beloved God or goddess, person or animal. A near death experience, which is physical, can come to your body through an accident or a disastrous disease, another human or animal that tries to attack you, almost drowning in the ocean, that a falling down from a higher space. A near death experience, which is spiritual, can come from those thoughts which are sad or derogatory, those debilitating fears birthed from yourself or others. My dear friend, know that a near-death experience can lead to a transformational experience, which can exile you from a near-death experience.
Mhm. Mhm. And that I'm glad you've pointed that out because a lot of people think that the near death, it has to always be something where your heart stops, so you are, pronounced dead or nearly dead, and that it
Mm-hmm,
has to be that. But
mm-hmm,
the transformation of your spirit, death into enlightenment, is very different. I've been through a few of those. And so
mm-hmm,
people say, well, what near death experience did you have? And they're like, is if physically, I mean, I've had a lot where I'm being on the brink because I was asthmatic and very often, got caught up in an asthma attack and couldn't breathe. But
mm-hmm,
it was the spiritual for me of
mm-hmm,
a death of who I am and a transformation of who
mm-hmm.
I'm meant to be. And those are so profound because they literally take you out of body. And they
Mm-hmm.
take you out of body and show where you become one with your heart and soul and your spirit and the essence of who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we need that experience out of the body to
Yes.
identify that we can't always recognize while we're in body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you got any
Oh,
more?
definitely, definitely, yeah. I think that's right on. Yeah.
There's a
Um,
lot of experiences for us to have as human beings, and I think we've limited ourselves so much by that linear path. Born, educate, get a job, marry, have kids, retire, die. And
mhm.
that is not what life is meant to be about. That is not living. That's just purely existing. And
You're
life
right.
is about that exploration of life, of
Mm-hmm.
all of your senses. I call it sensuality, which has got nothing to do with sexuality, but sensuality, where all of your senses are in tuned, where
Mm-hmm.
you are truly having the experience of life,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad, and ugly, but you're truly having the experience of life. And that's when you really know that you're living. And having means to where you can walk and recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine some people have walked that labyrinth where literally their life has popped up in front of them.
Right.
The past, the present, even, being able to see what their future may hold
Mm-hmm.
and summarize it in many ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to read another poem called The Healing Trinity.
Hmm.
Thank you for my trinity of divine healing. When I call on that sacred number three, I can heal my body, mind, and spirit. I give my body rest and eat less. I let the worries scatter from my mind and open my heart to the healing transformation of my divine spirit. In this holy trinity, I send forth my deepest and most radiant love. I let that light of enlightenment shine forth from the depths of my heart to the heights of my spirit.
Mm. What I get from that is engagement,
Mhm.
right? Engagement, being aware with oneself. I mean, that is something that we're missing as human beings is being aware,
Right,
right? And the labyrinth, your poetry, everything is about being in tune with what the universe is trying to say to you, what your meaningful purpose is, what path you are meant to walk.
right,
All right. And
right,
stepping out of the human expectation and walking into the divine purpose.
right,
Um, and becoming at one with oneself at that. Because when we step into that and we truly awaken to that, then we really do understand what life is about.
right. Yeah, we need to do that. Everyone needs to find what their path is
Hmm.
and what, but one thing is when you have a talent for something, you usually don't have a talent for the opposite thing or something else, and you need to get help for that. And with me, I have all these talents of my art, my poetry, my labyrinth work, but I don't have a talent for money
Hmm.
and for finances and stuff like that. And I think it's not because I'm stupid, but it's just because I'm not too
You don't
interested.
measure life that way.
No, I
Right.
don't. That's not
Yeah.
my
Yes.
my thing that inspires me. And so I do have to learn that.
Hmm.
But I have to take care of that because that is a problem, and I have to take care of it.
If we're in this human body, yes, we need it. And
Yeah, yeah.
100% understand what you're at because I already feel enriched and abundant in
Hmm.
my heart, soul, and spirit.
Right,
It,
me
it
too.
just it just hasn't manifested in the dollars,
No, it
right?
doesn't.
And we need the dollars in order to
Right,
sustain
right,
our physical light so that our
right,
illuminating spirit
right,
light can continue
right.
its work. So
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
most people that are in that spiritual realm understand that money is not the end goal. All right, but at the same time, we have to bring that practicality into it
Oh,
of
yes.
sustainable money.
Yeah, we have
And
to
I
have
think,
sustainable.
yeah, instead of just calling it money, call it sustainable money, because that is the fuel that feeds you, allowing you to do the work that you do.
Right.
So yes, but you talked about technology before. I've not been technical, and our generation, computers were beginning, and but only particular nerds could do that, and it was
Hmm.
city block initially before it became now it's a watch, the
Yeah,
computer.
yeah, yeah.
And for me to do these podcasts, I had to learn some technical things and how to edit and how to do everything else. I think when there is a passion for something, for
Yes.
what you really want to get out there, you
Right.
learn whatever techniques it is that you need to learn. You may not be an
Hmm.
expert in it, but you learn what
Hmm.
you need to do in order to be able to showcase the passion.
Hmm.
So your book, where do people find it? How do they
Okay,
find it?
it's on Amazon, The Labyrinth Path to Light and Peace. They can also email me and they can find it on my website and they can also email me about copies of it.
Right.
And so,
Now
yeah,
it's Living Labyrinths for peace.org. I'm going to spell it for the
yeah,
people listening. So living, Living. Labyrinth is Labyrinths for FOR Peace,
Living
Peace.
Labyrinths for
Yeah, dot
Peace.org. Yeah,
org. And
yeah,
don't forget it's dot .org and not dot .com. Now I have another one here, Washco Art. That's your art site?
yeah. Wasco Art, all lowercase run together, WASKOART at gmail.com. That's my email.
Right. So people can reach out to you there as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, you've got this vision plan, Luminous Labyrinth Peace Center in Sedona. Tell us more about that.
Yes. The idea is to create a luminous labyrinth center for peace,
Mm,
where you could choose what labyrinth design you want to walk and we'll project it on the floor.
excellent.
Yeah, it could be a
Ye-
classic labyrinth, Shark Cathedral one, whatever one,
yes.
projected on the floor. Surround panoramic images of where you want to walk and overhead images in the dome for like birthdays, marriages, funerals, conflict
Beautiful.
resolution workshops. And you can also choose, you're going to walk on light boxes.
Hmm.
And in the light boxes, you could choose to walk on earth, air, fire, water. And I have this green earth ones for the earth. And you can also put images
Mm,
in the light boxes, on top of these things for whatever occasion you want, like birthdays, marriages,
mm.
funerals, conflict resolution workshops, whatever you can. And so that's the goal. And I think it's we're thinking of doing the first one in Sedona or near Sedona,
Hmm.
not in downtown Sedona, but
Right.
yeah. And so then after that, we're going to do a traveling version of it.
Hmm.
And the head of the architect department at UM Taos said that he would have his students do a traveling version of it. And then if people want to have create one wherever they are, they can do that. They can ask to do that, and we'll help them create one. You know,
Well, the
and
thing
it's
is
going to
about
cost
technology today is just it's amazing what technology can do. And it's all about the programming, isn't it? And so you
right.
can have different programs for different things, or they can even be personalized programs that be put in there.
Yes, yes,
So that makes it so viable for
yeah. It
today,
is.
where in the past may not have been. Yeah.
That's definitely true. But it's going to cost a couple million to do this probably.
Hmm.
And
So
so we want to
we
do
need
major fundraising for it, and we're
yes.
looking for major donors. And then after that, we'll just have to see, how it goes. But
Right. Well, I
the
think the
traveling
idea of it is
version,
brilliant.
what?
I think the idea of it is brilliant, and kind of really what you need is have it at the the capital.
Yeah, yeah.
Politicians all need to go through it on their way in, to
Yes, and
vote
so
or
I'm looking
anything else
for.
at the legislation. They need to go through it before they go and vote for anything, because half the
Yeah.
time they choose not to vote for something good just because they don't like the other person. And I think
No,
if
no,
they
I
all walk
understand
the
that.
labyrinth, we might get some more common sense out of them.
Yes, yes.
So I think this is something that really should be everywhere. Every city needs one.
Oh, definitely.
And I think
Well,
it's something like,
there are a lot of labyrinths are all over the world, but not one like this one.
right. No, because this one, as you said, you can customize it,
Oh yeah,
and you can, which will make it really open up to people first and foremost. Oh, if this is a novelty, let's go and do it. And then the
yeah,
experience itself will
yeah,
transform them. But
yes,
yes, I think this is something that is definitely needed. We need these techniques. We need these things that are going to help us connect in and come
yes,
from the inside out, something
yes.
that takes us into the rhythm of peace and love and allows
Right.
us to move. So for people who are interested in this in Sedona, or just interested in the concept itself, they can reach out to each one of those sites or the Labyrinth site to talk to you about it. You have it on
Right.
your site? Okay.
Right. Yes. Livinglabyrinthtsforpeace.org is our website. Yeah.
Right. This is
Hmm.
a great idea. And, sometimes you kind of look for that one big capital person. And let's face it, there's that 1% out there who own all the money. If we start chiseling away some of that and put it where it needs to be, it's a drop in the bucket for
Right.
them. But,
Right.
knowing that they're going to hoard their money and protect it as much as they can because it's become their identity, really, when you look at it, I look at the Netflix way
Hmm.
of doing thing. Everybody put in $10, right? If
Yeah,
everybody put in $10 and that would accumulate, and next thing you know, you've got what you need. So it's all about people just stepping up. It's not about,
right.
oh, I've got to put a million forward or hundreds of thousands. No,
No,
you know,
no, no,
yeah,
no. It could work so many different ways. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And every drop in the
And
ocean makes
then
the ocean.
the other thing is that people could be suggesting more people that are possible, would possibly give to these, you
Yes,
know,
exactly, exactly.
because
And
I don't,
but
I don't get, who all the donors would be,
right.
So, they could, you know,
And the thing about it too, once it's up there and people have had the experience, cities can invest in it
hmm
themselves. They invest in parks and things like this where they could incorporate this in a park where
hmm
families go through it, other people go through it, and then it could be
yes,
part of the
yes.
park budget, right, for the
hmm
future. That the thing is the possibilities are endless. The
hmm
feasibility and what it can achieve is monumentous. And the only
hmm
thing that's holding it up is earthly money. So
hmm
if we put the right divine energy around it, the earthly money will be found,
Oh,
and we need to get this
definitely.
out there.
I'm trying to get through all kinds of blocks about that. It's hard for me
Hmm.
to ask for money, but I'm asking friends and other people to suggest things,
Yes,
and I'm getting through it, and I'm willing to do a lot of lectures about it, and see what
yes.
that, yeah.
And to, obviously get the
I mean,
social
how
media
many
word
people,
out there.
isn't this a great gift?
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the big brag lady or something, but that's not the case. This
Yes,
is
no.
why I'm here.
Well, no, you're the epitome of what this station is about, self-discovery wisdom. You have discovered your wisdom. And
Yeah.
instead of holding it to yourself, you've magnified it into
Hmm.
a product and a pattern that then serves other people. So you're
Right.
willing to share this wisdom that then will illuminate other people's lives
Right.
and paths. And that's what it's about, sharing of the wisdom. That's what's so important about it. So yes,
Yes.
we will put this out there and make sure that it's all served and shared. So thank you so much for sharing with us here today.
Thank you
Um,
too.
and folks, the labyrinths you can create yourself if you want to, but reach out, look at how to do it, reach out and have a chat with her. Reach out if you think this is a brilliant idea with the dome and how you would like to be a part of it. But just be willing to go on that journey because I promise you it will transform you. So thank you so much for being here today. And to everyone else out there, until next time. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.